What's up, everyone? It's Chicks in the Office with Rhea and Fran, giving you that Friday energy on a Wednesday. And for this Bachelorette recap, we are missing a special somebody by the name of Trent. You guys know him as Luggage Guy Trent, but we have a special guest. We are joined by Kit Keenan. You know her from the last season of The Bachelor, and we are so excited to talk about this episode of The Bachelorette with her. Welcome to the show, Kit.
Hi, guys. I'm so excited to be here. #1 fan.
We are so excited. You know, we met like out in New York a few weeks ago, and I was just like, when you said that you listened, and I was like, oh my God, you have to come on the show.
I listen every episode. It's like #1 fan.
So honored because I was so upset. I left before Fran ran into you.
Yeah.
And she was like, I ran into Kit. She was so excited.
So
I was
nice.
like, I'm so pissed. Now I feel left behind. But now you're here.
Yeah.
And we are honored that you're such a fan because we're such a fan of you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Very excited.
It works both ways. So we're happy to have you here. We know so much went down this week. We're going to jump into it. It's hometowns. It's crazy. You know, my jaw was on the floor at the end of the episode this week, but we'll start off with the easy hometowns, the hometowns that were really stress-free. Starting off with Blake. The first one was Blake Moynes. We love him. We finally got to see Emily Moynes and
Our queen.
Blake.
She's so cute.
So
oh my God.
cute.
So hot.
Obsessed.
Blake's sister and brother were there as well. And first of all, I want to talk about their date before we met their parents. They did Canada. They were at a little bar. They played darts. And what was they played like truth or dare darts, kind of. It was like the balloon popped. There was a little thing in the inside. Blake Moynes is just authentically himself all the time. It was like, grab your two favorite body parts or whatever it is on Katie, and just like full blown ass grab. Loved it.
Two cheeks.
He's so himself, and it's honestly very refreshing.
It is.
How do you feel about Blake and Katie's connection? Because I feel like there's a lot of mixed reviews, and I feel like we might be biased a little bit.
Right, we're definitely pro Blake, but
you know, we're pro Blake. We're really pro Emily Moynes. So it's like we just feel like the connection's there. How do you feel watching it?
I love them together because I feel like their connection is not super bachelor-y, if that makes sense. Like, they seem like they would be dating just in real life. And I think like the show moves so fast that often you can kind of like fall into a way more serious relationship in a super short amount of time. And they just seem to be taking things like at a normal pace. So yeah, I think their connection is great. I wonder where it will be after next episode.
Right.
But yeah, I hope Blake, I guess I'm rooting for Blake.
Yeah.
Is all I can say about that.
we're also rooting for Blake because, like you said,
at this point.
I know, but Kit nailed it with the word refreshing. Like, I really think that their relationship is very refreshing, and it does, the way they interact, it does feel like they would be a legit couple on the outside. Like, they have that connection. I do like that Blake has been not kind of rushing things, trying to get his feelings out like on his own time, which is why Emily Moynes coming in was so great, because she's like, if you love this girl, man the fuck up, man. It's time.
Yeah, she said, man the fuck up and tell her you love her.
Yeah.
Which I loved, and that's why I said Emily Moynes. That's why she's got a book, because she knows what she's talking about.
Yeah.
First of all, that lady, I just need to talk about her for a second.
The outfit.
She did a full confidence.
She did a full fit detail video on Instagram today.
Oh my God, I didn't
on
see
her
it. I
IGTV.
need to look at it.
Like, it was like, everyone's been asking about my outfit last night. Like, full outfit deets.
She just knows what she wants.
Yep.
That woman knows what she wants and knows what she deserves and is letting everyone know how to get that. Like, don't you just feel like she's so comfortable in herself?
Yeah.
Emily Moynes.
Yeah.
The best mom that's appeared on that show.
Yeah. It's been great. And the whole family does, like, the way they all talk to each other felt very relatable, and that his mom and his sister were like, what's the deal? Like, come on, let's talk. Like, let's they felt like a real conversation compared to, like, sometimes the the very skeptical conversations parents give and siblings give. They're like,
the
blink
fake
if you like,
conversations.
blink if you need to be rescued.
A lot of times, like, you're watching and you're like, there's definitely a process to this, you know? And like the parents seem to be asking like all the right questions, quote unquote. And that hometown felt like just so real.
Yeah.
And I think their connection seems really real to me. So
like, because I feel like his family is familiar with the show.
Exactly.
You know, like they're well versed in what hometowns look like, and they were asking the right questions compared to parents who are like, I can't fucking believe my kid is on this show.
Yeah.
And like trying to come up with questions that make sense, but like not be super skeptical. Emily Moynes was like, I know how this shit works.
Yeah, and that's why I think Blake and his family would be good for Katie, because at least they do kind of get how it works, whereas other families are a little bit more skeptical. They're like, what is this whole thing? They've only heard about it through the grapevine. Like, they know the deal. They know what they have to deal with afterwards. So I feel like that's why it kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
But obviously, shit went down later on in the episode.
Yeah, and that's a good segue into Justin's hometown, because Justin's...
Who's Justin?
Justin's parents...
Oh, he's so cute.
Who the fuck is Justin?
Justin's parents didn't show up. He's from Baltimore, and, you know, they had their cute little fake Baltimore moments, and then it was just kind of like sad. And I'm curious, Kit, like if you were Katie in that situation and Justin is like, my parents aren't coming, I feel like you automatically are eliminating him in your head.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, your parents aren't like don't want to come. How could we get engaged?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree. I think I would be like, you know, you don't want to like write off your connection with the person, because at the end of the day, it's you and that other person. But obviously, like, having the reassurance from the family completely changes things, and like seeing how you would mesh with the family after the fact, like, that's so important to know. So yeah, I think I would be pretty devastated, like, if the person's family didn't show up.
Yeah.
Right, because at the end of the day, it is like their connection that matters. But if your family doesn't approve of a connection, you may be having a good time with that person, but then underlying, there's always that weirdness with the family. Like, your family's your family.
Yeah.
So it's going to be awkward at some point in your life. You're going to have to come to terms with it.
Yeah.
And it's just like probably an uncomfortable conversation after that.
It's also like, I just don't think you could get engaged then.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, like, you would at least have to meet the parents before taking that next step. So, and that's like the goal of the whole show. So, I don't know. It's a tough one there.
And I think maybe our opinions would be different if we all like expected it to be Justin. Like if Blake Moynes' family didn't show up, we'd be like, "Oh, what the fuck? Like this is crazy."
Yeah.
Justin, there's nothing there. I mean, I don't know. Katie at one point said our chemistry is undeniable, and I was just like, what chemistry? I'm missing something.
I know. I always go back to the wedding vow date.
They seem so like, friendly to me. Like I just don't feel any chemistry.
I think I mean, obviously we only see parts of their life while they're filming. So I think that we must be not like seeing all those little genuine moments that make a relationship. And so I think, we're missing a little bit of that there.
Yeah, I just don't know how she can say that there's a genuine connection with Justin when arguably the connection with Greg and Blake is way stronger. Like, I would just cancel out that connection. I'd be like, there's not really a connection there. But once again, I guess we're just not
if
really
Justin
seeing it.
sent himself home, Katie wouldn't be like, I'm leaving.
Yes.
So it was... They salvaged the hometown. He had his two buddies come. But it had an underlying kind of like sad tone to it, just because it was, I just imagine being like, can you guys like please come? My parents won't come.
That hurts.
Yeah, and his friends were obviously there for them, and they were very sweet and asked Katie like good questions, and they clearly know Justin very well.
But even in Katie's shoes, I'd be like, oh, your parents don't want to come? Then like, I now don't want to be with you.
Meeting his two best friends feels like a fourth date, not like the date before you get engaged.
Right. Like I would be at that point, I'd be like Justin, and Justin probably was out of the equation after that, but then.
Yeah. We have a ton to unpack here with Greg. Before we do that, just a reminder, guys, if you don't feel like cooking, it takes too much time, it's too much prep, Daily Harvest is the best solution. I'm telling you, their food is so good. They have delicious harvest bowls, flatbreads, smoothies, and more. They're all built on organic fruits and vegetables. It's delivered right to your door. It takes like 5 minutes to prep. It's so easy. Their soups are fantastic. Smoothies in the morning, great. Harvest bowl for lunch. Harvest bowl for dinner. Flatbread. The harvest bowls are so good too because you can like maybe get a little piece of grilled chicken, add it to it, have a full meal ready to go for dinner. They're great for lunch. Like I said, so easy to prep. They also have their Daily Harvest scoops right now in the summer, which is so great. Their plant-based ice cream is the perfect sweet treat. It's gluten and dairy-free. Like Rhea said, artichoke flatbread, artichoke lemon harvest bowl has been one of my favorites recently. That's an all-time classic combination that you can't go wrong with. Daily Harvest is also all about leaving the earth in a better place than they found it, not just for us, but future generations. They focus on increasing biodiversity, investing in organic farming practices, reducing food waste, and even prioritizing recyclable and compostable packaging. Like I said one more time, this food is fresh, it's frozen, comes right to you. It is so great. When I open up the smoothie containers and I see that fruit in there, the fruit looks so good. You know it's going to make an amazing smoothie. So stay cool, calm, and collected during the summer heat. Go to dailyharvest.com/chicks to get up to $40 off your first box. That's dailyharvest.com/chicks for up to $40 off your first box. dailyharvest.com/chicks. All right, there's a lot to unpack with Greg's hometown. There's so much, and I'm still confused. And what's hard is like also to live tweeting the show during the beginning of Greg's hometown. I went like, hell yeah, Greg! I feel like this is working. Like I'm liking Greg. I didn't really like him before. I'm liking him now. So I sent out these tweets like being like, yes, Greg, normal guy. I like it. And then people are seeing those today and being like, oh my God, how could you? He's a manipulator. I'm like, okay, check the timestamp. Tweeted that at 9:05. Like, yeah. It changed very drastically, but his hometown felt really, really legit because he opened up to his family so much about his feelings for Katie. Like, it always kind of seemed like we weren't really sure where Greg stood, but I felt like it showed a lot for him to say to his mom, like, this is the one. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know if you lie to your mom about that.
No.
You don't.
No.
I know you're on TV, but
still.
I know. I just think...
And he'd been saying that to Katie, too.
Yeah. I feel like he really built up this moment in his head, and when it didn't go the way he wanted it to, / like tried to pretend he wasn't on The Bachelorette, he like threw a hissy fit.
I have no idea how to feel about Greg.
I know.
I have absolutely no idea. And yeah. I think
I've decided I don't like him. Okay. I've come to that conclusion at the end of this, but
I just want to be as honest as possible.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
So at first, at the beginning of the season, it was like, oh, Greg, he's great. But then we started getting, it was like the actor vibes.
Yeah.
Does he just want to be an actor? Is he too good to be true? Then we had a very strong feeling he was going to leave.
Yeah.
So is this a whole play production to show that he really likes Katie, but then he actually really just wanted to leave, so he made it seem like it was because he really likes Katie?
But you wouldn't say you're in love with someone then.
Yeah.
You wouldn't say that.
Right.
He wouldn't have said I love you to her if it was all like...
Well, that's why I'm so confused, and I think Katie is acting kind of bizarre as well.
How did you feel Katie handled the reaction to like the group? The hometown date was ending, and that's when, he professed all of his feelings, laid it all out there, said, you're filling this hole in my heart. And clearly Greg has also been through a lot of trauma. Like, he totally has not fully digested the death of his dad. Mm-hmm. You can tell that like having his brother be like, I don't even talk to him about that, like makes it feel like he has maybe some personal growth and some things that he has to get through himself. But Katie's reaction to that was oh, like, she didn't really know what to say, and then there was a silence, and then she was like, I just love looking at your face, and it was by far the worst thing she could have said.
That's what I mean, bizarre. Like,
she's like, I just love looking at you.
Yeah, I was like, maybe there was a part we missed there of that conversation or something.
Do you think they could have cut something out there?
I don't know, but I just don't think she would respond like that. Maybe she was just like shocked by the emotion.
Yeah, like I think sometimes, and from what we've watched, she closes up a little bit in these uncomfortable moments, and I almost feel like in her mind maybe she was panicking in like the, oh my God, this is everything I want to hear, like I want to tell him so much, and that's like why she froze, because it's like I can't even find the words, because like I'm still the Bachelorette and I can't just be like, yeah, I love you too. And she already made that rule for herself. She really tried to stick to it.
Yeah.
The rule of like, I'm not going to tell any of these guys that I love them while I'm still dating, and while I'm still dating other guys, while other guys are here. What did you think about that? Do you think that was smart of her or no?
I don't think I would make that choice for myself.
Yeah.
Just because like, I mean, with Claire and Tayshia's season, we saw that like, you can do whatever the heck you want. Like, you can make whatever choice you want. But yeah, I think I might not have made that decision, but I do get it. Like, she wanted to be respectful of the guys that were still there. Because like, even with Justin, though we might not see how deep their connection is yet, like, they still do have a little time there. Yeah. You don't know like how those things progress in the following week. So I get that, but I don't know. Maybe it would have like panned out differently if she hadn't made that rule.
I think it's a dumb rule, because how are you
totally would have panned out differently. I think.
How are you supposed to get engaged to somebody without telling them that you love them?
Yeah.
I would not get engaged to somebody if we did not exchange I love yous.
Right. To have the expectation that Greg or Blake or Justin was going to get down on one knee and say like, will you marry me, without actually hearing the words I love you from her.
Choose one of them. Yeah. Right? Like, if you love one of it, or even
if she ran away with Greg in that moment, like, fine. The Bachelor, I feel like, would have been fine with it, because then they would have had the drama of like Caitlyn and Tayshia going to tell Blake and Justin like, Katie's gone, Greg's gone, like it's
if
over.
She was like, you know what, I fucking love you, and he was like, I love you, and they ran off together. Great love story there. This is like, okay, you're not going to tell any of them you love them. Maybe you feel like you love all three of them. I don't know.
Yeah.
But at least let them know a little bit, because then they're afraid to say it. Because I feel like with Blake, when we saw the whole, like, he felt it, but he wasn't sure if he should say it, because I feel like he almost thinks, well, she's the Bachelorette, she should be saying it to me. Usually in real life, you're like, the guy should be saying it to me. Mm-hmm. It was a very confusing situation. And then, once again, how are you going to get engaged without saying I love you?
Yeah.
Because then what if you do get engaged, and then you exchange the I love yous, and they're not, like, as passionate as you thought they were? It's kind of like a kiss.
Yeah.
Or, like, having sex. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, and he clearly was uncomfortable and devastated by the whole thing. He goes to Katie's room, the next day, so we are made to think. And he, like... And I said it during Cutting Stems, hurt people. And clearly he was hurt, and he did not like the way that conversation went. But he really didn't give Katie any chance.
And I felt like she was fighting. Like, she was fighting for it.
She was really trying to fight for it. And he, like, it seemed like he'd already closed the door. Like, he went on this whole speech and, not about the roses and the who's number one and all this, like, trying to make it like, this is real life. Like, I thought you were my person. And she seemed like she was trying to give it back to him, or at least hint to him, like, I know, like, you've always been my number one, but he just used everything that she was saying against her.
That's where I started to not like him. Yeah. That's where he lost me. Because I was like, all right, well, now you're just coming across angry.
Yeah.
And, like, she is kind of being like...
Yeah.
And he's just not taking it. And he didn't have to leave. No.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like it's one of those, like, every couple or every relationship is going to have a bad interaction or fight like this. Mm-hmm. But if they had this bad fight, right, and he stayed, then maybe the makeup conversation would be even stronger. Don't you feel like that happens sometimes?
Yeah, totally. I think that it was like a switch for him, and it was just like, I can't do this anymore. And I think it's like such an emotionally taxing process that like once you're not ready to fight for it anymore and like fight through how tough it can be while you're there, it's just like you can't do it anymore. And I feel like he in that moment was like, I cannot cope anymore with this.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I think that he, like the whole like when he said, you know, what am I supposed to do? Like just next get a rose, fantasy suites, make love to you.
I
like
was dying.
I was like, oh my god, this
when
is
he said
unbelievable. I know. I was like, oh my god, make love to you.
Meanwhile, Justin's just hanging out with his besties.
I know.
Like during this whole thing, it's just crazy to think about the fact that like there's two other guys. Blake, they have the connection. Justin, his best friends are.
I know. When he said that, it made me realize that like this spiral that he just went on was going to happen at one of the other points going forward. Like he was spiraling here. It could have happened when like he saw someone else leaving on a fantasy suite date. Could have happened when he thought like somebody else was looking at engagement rings. Like I just feel like this panic attack and that he had in this moment, like of I just got to get out of here, was very emotional, and it did feel like a really legitimate conversation that like a boyfriend and girlfriend has when they're trying to discuss like whether or not they should get engaged. You know what I'm saying? Like it felt like Greg being like the one being like, okay, like I'm ready, like I'm ready to propose, and for the girlfriend to be like, oh well, like let's talk this out and like let's see, and the boyfriend's like, well, no, if you don't want to, I'm gone.
And that's what I mean by like if they had a follow-up conversation, maybe
they work it out,
have sex in the fantasy suites, and it's like fireworks, and they're like, all right, let's work this thing out.
Or private time without the cameras in the fantasy suite.
I just think like it's so, once that switch was turned for him, he was just like, I can't do this anymore, and I can't also like give my whole self to you.
Katie was on her knees outside, like literally on her knees, like holding him.
This was the heartbreak she was referring to.
Clearly.
This was the heartbreak she's been referring to in her interviews.
That was, I mean, it was really tough to watch.
How does she end up with Blake or Justin at this point?
I don't think that happens.
You don't think so?
She will.
If she does, how do we react to that?
This is what I'm telling you.
As consumers, how do we like...
No, this is one of the most devastating breakups that this show has seen, and I compared it, remember with when I was telling you and Trent, like I compared it to a long time ago with Desiree and her like top guy going home, and it was this whole big thing, and you could tell that he was always the front runner, but she still got engaged to Chris, like who was on the show. Everyone kind of thought he was just like the second choice, but they are married and have kids and like, you know, have seem to have had a happy life. But like that breakup between Desiree and Brooks was like not as what felt like dramatic as this is. For Katie to say like, I told you to Greg's face, like I told you, like if you're gone, like I'm done, like I'm leaving, I'm not gonna do this anymore. And he still left. And that was also where I thought like I started to question his intentions, because when he was like, I'm leaving, and after she said that, he didn't even try to be like, leave with me.
But I'm just like, I just don't think the whole like thing that people are saying that Greg is like fake and he's an actor and all that. Right. I just like, you would not tell someone you love them. Because imagine if Katie had been like, I'm in love with you too. Then... Yeah.
Right.
Like, there's no...
You got yourself
like,
in a pickle. Right.
Yeah. You
I like your face.
Yeah.
Like, it's just...
You got yourself in a pickle. Yeah.
I just think, like, it's such... I can't even describe, like, how emotional that process is, that it's just, like, one tiny little thing. And, I mean, I guess to him, it really did not feel tiny. Yeah. But, like... in that moment, he was just like, I can't give myself to this process anymore. Like, I'm too scared and I'm too, like, broken.
Do you think that he may have gone about his language the wrong way? Because I think even Katie on her Instagram story, like, posted slideshow like about gaslighting, because that's what everybody was saying, that Greg was gaslighting her. And even last night, Katie like added it to her Instagram story. It was like, the Instagram account, so you want to know about, was it was so you want to know about gaslighting. And it was like a whole slideshow.
What does it mean in that situation?
I think she was referring it to that sit down in the morning or whatever that was, of him trying to tell her how that interaction went, like she wasn't a part of it.
Okay.
Like kind of being like, you did this and you made me feel this way, and like not hearing Katie's side of it at all, and just letting it sit as like, I did everything that I was supposed to do, and you didn't give me the one thing that I needed back, and now I'm just like, now I'm done.
I do agree that conversation, like, it was definitely like one-sided almost, in the sense that like Greg was not listening to anything she was saying in that moment. Yeah. Like, he had already made up his mind, it seemed like, when he went into that conversation. I can't do this anymore. And she was like fighting and like basically at that point telling him everything that he needed to hear, and he was like not responding to that.
I don't think he liked all the Bachelor lingo too. Like, I think he maybe got, like you said, so fed up with the process and the show that he was like, I don't want to hear about fucking roses or being number one or next week or fantasy
and you're like, well, this is the show.
And Katie's like, I don't know what to do here. I'm trying to communicate with you that I want you in the words that like I'm allowed to use.
I feel like, obviously, like, I think they were both kind of wrong in the situation in different ways. And yes, Greg, like, trying to explain to Katie what happened is wrong. Yeah. But I feel like in Greg's mind, maybe he got so worked up that he just convinced himself that Katie felt a certain way because he was upset by it. And that's how that was delivered. You know what I mean? Like,
and also, nothing's
like, kind of like, this is the way you feel, because in his head he's upset, and he feels like that's what was done to him, even though telling somebody the way they feel and the way they acted is wrong, like you said, and gaslighting.
That's like the worst. Somebody trying to tell you how you feel is one of the worst things.
It's terrible, but I've been in that situation.
No, I know.
Where I'm like, you feel this way because in your head, your own insecurities are telling you that they feel that way, even though they don't.
Yeah, you're like, I promise you, I don't feel the way you're saying I feel. But it just didn't get through to him. He really was out, and Greg's gone.
Now we got Justin and Blake.
I mean, I felt so bad for Katie. I was happy that Caitlyn was there in like that moment, because it's like, I just feel like either her or Tayshia is a good person to be like, look, this is a crazy, crazy time, like when you get to the end here and have to navigate these situations. But we are ending with Blake and Justin not knowing what's going on. Greg's gone. Katie's like, I want to go home. Do you think there's any shot that Katie's engaged next week?
I mean, they said that next week is the final episode. From that conversation with Caitlyn in the bathroom, it's just like, I would imagine it's very hard to kind of like just fall in love now, like, and be super happy and give another relationship like your whole heart. I think from that conversation, she seems very devastated. I hope that she is able to like work on another one of the relationships that are still there. I think they're both great guys. And I again, like, to your point, I'm so happy that Caitlyn and Tayshia are there, because having Caitlyn go into the bathroom at that time, like, I couldn't have asked for anyone better to do that and be there for Katie. So yeah, I'm just very thankful that they're there.
I obviously, like you said, the way this looks, it seems like it'd be impossible. Like, you're heartbroken. How do you just jump in with somebody else?
I think she might be done with the process.
Yeah. For the shitstorm, though, I hope she's engaged. I hope she's engaged, because I want to know everyone's reaction to her being engaged.
Yeah, I kind of feel like she might also now just be done with this whole process in general, not necessarily done with the guys, if that makes sense. Like, I feel like she might be like, I'm not getting engaged at the end of this season. I'm going to go home. Maybe she's able to talk to these guys afterwards. Maybe she was able to talk to Blake or Justin or whoever it is. Bringing it back to Blake, like, real life wise, they just still always made the most sense. So in my heart, I'm hoping that like this can end and they can talk and be like, okay, let's talk now, like not on the show.
Yeah.
And see what happens.
And honestly, Blake seems like the type of person on the show that like wouldn't really want to follow the normal process anyway.
Definitely.
So I feel like that would maybe be like the best situation for them.
Like I think for Blake, if Katie was like, you know what, I'm done, I'm going home, but like, Blake, I'll call you in a week, he'd be like, great.
I feel like that's kind of the likely situation at this point. She needs time to go home, process what happened with Greg, get over that, and then see if she could really get back into a connection with one of these guys, and I'm assuming it's Blake.
How do we think the after the final rose is gonna go?
Intense.
Dude, it's gonna be
Can't
crazy.
wait.
I already have like goosebumps thinking of Katie and Greg having to talk to each other because there's no chance they've spoken. No chance.
Noah said this like revitalize the season or just like the show as a whole.
Yeah.
And I agree with that.
Oh, Kelly and Trent and I were buzzing to get on Cutting Stems. Like we were just like, what just happened? I couldn't believe we haven't had that much of a, I don't even know. It's not even necessarily drama. It's just like really
it's drama, but it's also
emotions.
like
intensity.
Yeah.
It's also like a test of the whole like format of the show, I think, which it needed to be shaken up, I think, a little bit. And this definitely like changed the game. It's 2 new hosts. Like the process is kind of being worked out in a different way. And from what I have seen Katie say online and stuff, like she has no regrets. So I think that like, I hope that whatever happens in the coming weeks that we see is like genuinely the best for her.
How did you think Katie handled being the Bachelorette, like as a whole?
I mean, I think she killed it. I actually like seems like the hardest thing ever.
Yes.
Because everyone is like, you know, obviously I would want 30 plus guys to be obsessed with me and like want to date me, obviously. But then when you're there, you're like, oh my God, it's just every episode she's like pouring her heart out and like talking about very serious, like traumatic things that have happened in her life with people that she's known for such a short amount of time. Like after that, it's just such a whirlwind. Like I would actually have to be like alone in my room for probably a month after.
Hard agree.
Yeah, definitely. So we're very unsure what is going to happen, what the conversation is going to look like between her and Greg. I'm interested to see Greg's explanation.
We'll find out. We don't know what any of these people are thinking at this point in time.
Yeah.
Everything's a shit show right now, and I am excited for next week.
So much raw emotion. Like, I could really talk about Greg. I think I'm going to talk about Greg to everyone for, like, the rest of the week. Yeah. Like, just be like, what do you think? You watched The Bachelorette? What do you think about Greg?
I think it's split.
Everyone has a different opinion.
I know.
And you know what? I love that. Because I hate when people, and we see it with this franchise all the time, when there's one opinion, and everyone just goes with that one opinion, and if you, like, slightly differ from it, you're like a crazy person.
Yeah, I saw it.
Whereas this one, I feel like it's kind of like,
it's just not as this situation was not as one sided.
No, it's not. It's like they're both wrong. They're both right, and
people watch this show with like a totally. This is like real raw emotions, and then people watch it with like a lens of like this is reality TV, and that always creates different opinions and why we're here talking about like. I always fall on the side of like if those were fake emotions from Greg, he deserves an EGOT.
You know that I'm like, this shit's fake.
Yeah.
Real.
Yeah.
100%. I'm on the real side for this one. I like that noted.
Yeah.
Usually I'd be like, this shit's fake.
Yeah.
real.
Yeah. He got me when the make love to you and line.
I can't.
I'm uncomfortable. Stop.
I'm sorry. I just
stop.
I just keep going back to it. It was just like the cracks and tears and his voice and like everything. I was just like, feels very legit. So people can believe him or not believe him. We'll get to hear from Greg himself next week and see what happens. But quite an ending to this season. We knew it was going to be dramatic, and it is delivering. And Kit, thank you so much for coming here and recapping with us.
We'll have to do this again.
It was such a treat. And next time you come back, we'll really talk about you, you know?
Literally. Of course, I come on for like the most dramatic episode.
I
couldn't come on and like judge the first like limo walks. I have to come on and like judge the
Men Tell All, where we
like,
just shit on everyone.
This is the good shit.
You had to come on here and talk about real legit emotions, people's hearts and feelings.
Too much. Too much.